All right, so let's transition to that, first round scenarios. I don't know if you want to go position by position, Alex, like in order, or just kind of throw out names. I mean, there's a lot of options here. It's pick 25. It's not 5 and 7 anymore, so it's not like you have four names that go off your board, and then you're like, okay, we have all these handful of selections. There's 24 picks before the Giants pick at 25, so it's
Yeah.
really an open book to who could be available and who the Giants will and could pick. So I really don't know how you kind of want to start with this.
I was thinking we'd go position by position here and
Okay.
kind of talk about players who are in the range of the Giants, right? If they are in even a little bit trade up range, let's say maybe 5 or 6 spots, or 5 or 6 spots backwards as well, right? Kind of
Cool.
anyone who's in the Giants range, I kind of wanted to mention here.
And
And
obviously go by position of need, I would
yeah,
assume.
I was just going to go through each position and kind of say which positions are obviously not of need. Quarterback is definitely one of them that's not a position of need, so I'm going to skip that one. Running back, I think, is a very, very far outside chance, but if Bijan Robinson is there and the Giants are in love with his talent, that could be a possibility. I think that could be interesting. And then in the wide receiver position, I think that's where you look at the huge amount of options. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, Zay Flowers. I even think Josh Downs and Jalen Hyatt are in play. So, I think those are guys who are certainly in play for the Giants. I think are very likely in play for the Giants at pick 25. Someone I keep my eye out for, Marvin Mims Jr. I keep mentioning it. If they trade back maybe into the early second round, or they really, really like him, they could stand pat at 25 and take him, because we know they went to his pro day. They brought him in for a 30 visit. They talked to him at the draft. A lot of interest in Marvin Mims Jr., and usually that's for good reason. So certainly interesting. Could be more of a guy available at the second round pick for sure. But, I think that's a guy to keep a look for. Josh, do you have anything to say about the wide receivers?
Yeah, I mean, about the wide receivers, I would say Quentin Johnson most likely will not be available at that pick. I think he's one of the top, if not the top wide receiver on the board. Jordan Addison, too. I don't know if he'll be available there. And then just one guy to shy away from, I think, is Jalen Hyatt. I mean, as good as he is, he's a main slot guy in the NFL. He's smaller and he's very fast. We have that with now two players. Wan'Dale Robinson was our guy for that we picked last year to replace Kadarius Toney in that slot position. And then we also signed Paris Campbell, who's mainly a slot receiver. So we don't need any more slot receivers. We talked about this in prior episodes. And yes, Jalen Hyatt, in order to be an NFL wide receiver, you have to adjust. So I'm sure he's going to adjust and to how to play the outside wide receiver position. However, his primary position in the NFL is going to be a slot guy. So I would just prefer the Giants just stay away from that. They don't need that position. It's not as valuable to them. But yeah, I mean, looking at the guys like Addison and Flowers, we've talked about a lot, and Downs if he's there, and like you said, Miller as well.
Mims.
Sorry, I'm thinking of.
Well, you're turning into me, Josh,
thinking of.
messing up with all the names here. I don't understand what's going on.
I messed up one name this
All right.
episode so far.
Fair enough.
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's my take of the wide receiver position. There's no tight end that we need either. Oh, well, you want to talk about that?
I just wanted one more comment. Sorry about that. In kind of how I look at this wide receiver group, I kind of a fit or mix. Oh my God, I can't even speak. I was going to say Smith-Njigba so next. That's why I'm messing all up here. I kind of put together certain prospects here. I think Smith-Njigba and Jordan Addison are similar archetypes of players. Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, similar as well. And then I think you've got the two kind of, outsiders, and Jalen Hyatt, who's more of your pure speedster kind of guy, and Quentin Johnston, who's your more big physical receiver. So out of the top, I'd say 6 receivers that are the main top 6. I think that's kind of how you group them together. Like you mentioned, sorry, I guess I'll go through the tight end real quick. I don't think tight end's going to be something that you take in the first round at all. There are a lot of great tight end talents, but it's just not something that's the right fit for the Giants. Same thing with tackle. Again, also most of those top guys at the tackle position will be gone anyway, not that the Giants would take them. I think there's an outside chance at an Osiris Torrance at guard or even a Steve Avila, possibly. But I don't think either of those are very likely either. And then at the center position, continuing with the interior guys, I think John Michael Schmitz is a real possibility. Besides that, I don't think any other center is really at the conversation for pick 25.
Well, you say that, but also I'm looking around and from, I guess you could say like professionals in the industry, right? That's what they are. Ian Cummings of Pro Football Network has Joe Tippmann, the interior offensive lineman from Wisconsin, going at that pick at 25. You have, Daniel Jeremiah, an former NFL scout. We know who Daniel Jeremiah is. I mean, he's the top of the industry. Has Joe Pittman. Now I am missing up the name. Joe Tippmann at number 25. So you say that he's not even in question and it's just Schmitz. Obviously, that isn't the case. So I guess just keep an eye.
I've been proven wrong. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I didn't think that either, Alex. I mean, we picked him in our third round.
Yeah.
I'm looking right
now.
Certainly
rising, though.
Chris Trapasso of CBS also has him there. Yeah. So, all right. Let's transition now to defense, right?
Yeah.
Interior defensive line. We just talked about that. Do you have anyone, just talked about it, meaning last episode? Do you have anyone?
I mean, I think there's two main possibilities if they fall, and I think that's Brian Breesy and Kalijah Cansey. We're going to talk a little bit later, actually, about our 7-round mock draft, and we may or may not have one of those players. Hint, hint. Going 25 there for the Giants. So those guys are definitely possibilities, I think, if they do fall in a certain scenario. I think Cansey's more likely to fall than Breesy just because of his size issues, but certainly an interesting spot. And then edge rusher, I think, is a position that a lot of Giants fans aren't really thinking about, but I think it's a real possibility. If Luke Van Ness falls, if Miles Murphy falls, Nolan Smith, if he falls, Will McDonald, the Giants have showed a lot of interest in. BJ Ojolari, obviously, Azeez Ojolari's brother. So they got some great intel there, maybe a little bit of bias as well. Keon White out of Georgia Tech, another guy who's driving up draft boards as well late in this process. I think there's definitely a lot of options at the edge rusher position. I think that's a really underrated spot that a lot of Giants fans are not thinking about.
All right, so we got through those guys. I guess now moving along with the linebacker, and there's no one there. It's not no one there. I mean, there are guys there for later rounds. It's more of a later round pick. Third, third, fourth round pick at the linebacker spot. So I think that's what you got to say there. And then moving from linebacker would be cornerbacks, and that's a big spot for the Giants, right? Yeah. You look at guys like Emmanuel Forbes is probably the number one person people are talking about or mocking the Giants. Yeah. You talk about DJ Turner, the cornerback out of Michigan. People are mocking to the Giants. And you talk about then the higher guys up there. Well, I don't know. Branch obviously too out of Alabama, but I don't know Branch
safety though, so it's a little bit different. But
is Joey Porter gonna fall? Is
Banks, Deonte
Banks, and
Keely Ringo.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do we got? Witherspoon and Gonzalez are not going to be anywhere near that range.
That's who I was thinking of, Christian Gonzalez.
You could maybe someone like Tyreek Stevenson, who we had mocked in our second round in the last mock draft. Cam Smith out of South Carolina. He's been rising up a lot of draft boards, possibly him. But I think at the cornerback spot for the Giants, just looking at who they'd be interested, who fits their scheme, I think Ringo, Banks, Forbes, maybe DJ Turner as well are good fits for the Giants in terms of scheme fits. Joey Porter Jr. as well. Cam Smith, not as much, a little bit more comfortable in zone coverage, actually. So maybe not him. Julius Brents, another guy, 6'4", out of Kansas State, had a pretty good combine as well. Could be a guy who sneaks into the first round, so keep an eye on him as well. And then you mentioned the safety position, Josh. Brian Branch is definitely in play for the Giants at pick 25. And, he's a very, very talented player, but he is at the safety position. So that's something to keep in mind. And then special teams, don't think any kickers, punters, or long snappers will be taken by the Giants anywhere near the first 7 rounds, actually, or anywhere in this draft.